Okay. Halt. Ah, AM. Warte mal, wir müssen auf PM. Richtig? Wir sind auf PM, oder? 30. So. Der Delay, ja, das ist der Wahnsinn, ne? Delay ist einfach mal kacke. Jetzt vom Ton her. Und ein bisschen leiser. Machen wir es mal so. Okay. Meine Eselsbrücke war ich mit AM4 im Vertue. Am ist am... Oh, das ist gut. Ich kenne sonst immer nur mit Präabend, aber eigentlich ist es total bescheuert. Hier ist der Rest. Gut, finde ich gut. Das könnte ich mir vielleicht merken. Das ist wie mit Proto Netto. Proto ist brutal viel. Okay, seid ihr bereit? Wir starten. Das Schöne ist, dass du den neuen Kram triggern kannst, den ich noch nicht kenne. Ja? Wenn ich nichts übersehe wahrscheinlich, ne? Mal gucken. The end is never the end. Okay.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Vielleicht merken?
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.
Huh?
This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oh, wir dürfen. Okay. Timothy, ich habe keine Ahnung, worum es in dem Spiel geht. Also ich habe gehört, man muss es gespielt haben. Mehrfach habe ich es gehört. Direkt. Und dass es am besten ist, wenn man keine Ahnung hat, um was es in dem Spiel geht. Und somit habe ich keine Ahnung. Und daher, erstmal umgucken. 427. Müssen wir uns bestimmt merken. I hate Mondays. Nee, wahrscheinlich steht da Sundays bei dem drauf, oder? Nee. Oh. Ist ja sehr praktisch hier eingebaut, also Respekt. Perfekt. Siehst du? Perfekt. Wir haben keine Ahnung. So muss das sein. Ein Arbeiter namens Stanley. Mehr darf ich nicht verraten, weil sonst ein Meteorit auf einen niederprasseln will. Aber, es ist kein Horror, ne? Also das... Oder? Kein Horror, ne? Könnt ihr mir hoffentlich verraten.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could
Das habe ich
it
jetzt ziemlich
mean?
Angst.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Sogar Blätter. Vielleicht. Nee, okay, ich vertraue euch. I hate Monday. Die hassen alle Montage, seht ihr
No
das?
matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace
Wer
of
hat
his
gefurzt?
co-workers.
Ich nicht. Geil. Das ist mega Arbeitsplatz, Leute. Einfach nur ein Bleistiftanspitzer. Zeug. Halt auch keine Ahnung, muss ich mich. Ich gucke einfach mal. Der rennt mega schnell, ne? Wenn ich nur antippe. I like work. I just hate my boss. Du bist zu arbeiten, hast du nur meinen Boss. Okay. Crouchen. Und Psycho-Isolation, alleine leere Büros, komische Nummer. Ciao. Ja, es ist irgendwie ein bisschen, also ich weiß nicht. Frage, was ist da vorgefallen, ne? Oder es ist gar nicht Wirklichkeit und wir haben einen Knall. Der Typ mit dem Bleistift anspielt mal Minimaliste. Ich habe eine Frau gedacht, weil kennt ihr wahrscheinlich alle Marvelous Miss Maisel. Da ist am Anfang auch eine Sekretärin. Die spitzt einfach die Bleistifte an und kriegt es aber nicht hin, weil sie jetzt kommt. Ich dran denken müssen gerade. Buch. Stanley, du bist ganz schön am Rennen.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
Nein, ich bin nur sorgsam. So ehrlich. Ich habe voll Angst, dass hier mich irgendwas anspringt. Irgendwie. Ich weiß nicht. Ah. Wo funktioniert? Ah, das ist bestimmt Material hier, oder? Doch, die Uhr, guck mal, der Sekundenzeiger bewegt sich, Timothy. Er bewegt sich. Halt. Okay, Verkäufe im Quartal geht gegen 0. Also irgendwas ist mit der Firma hier scheiße gelaufen. Vielleicht ist die Firma am Ende quasi.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, Moment. Erstmal, was ich gerade sagen wollte. Vielleicht ist die Firma schon lang pleite und da das jetzt aber braucht, dieses Getippen, ist er jetzt völlig down in einer Depression und geht trotzdem arbeiten. Das war jetzt meine Vermutung. Letztens auch Folge 1 gesehen. Ich liebe diese Serie, ich finde die so gut. Kann nicht sein, wo ist meine Brille? Okay, ich möchte mal kurz festhalten. Ich bin in diesen Raum gekommen mit 2 offenen Türen und der Sprecher hat gesagt, Stanley geht durch die linke Tür. Gehen wir jetzt durch die linke Tür oder gehen wir durch die rechte Tür? Scheiße. Okay, wir gucken uns mal um. Oh, das ist irgendwie... okay. Ich würde es jetzt spontan, ganz spontan, wir überlegen ja auch erst seit 2 Minuten. Ich würde jetzt durch rechts gehen, ehrlich. Oder? Nee, wir gehen... Ich gehe nach links. Sorry, ich erwarte immer noch Horror. Rechts. Verdammt, zu spät. Nächstes Mal warte ich länger, okay? Nächstes Mal warte ich. Gar nicht creepy. Nein, ist gar nicht creepy hier. Das ist der Meeting Room. Hier muss ich doch eh hin. Okay.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Okay, ich muss da rum. Donald Alter without Consulting Whiteboard Manager. Okay. Es gibt einen Whiteboard Manager. Ist immens wichtig, Leute. Jetzt werden wir nie erfahren, was rechts war. Oh mein Kingo! Verdammt! Wahrscheinlich das Gleiche. Stimmt's gleich. Okay. Review. Tuesday. Termination Tuesday. Sehr gut an. Wer zappt denn hier weiter? Rate at which... Rate of increase. Also ich glaube, die Firma hier... Schade. Och, Leute! Oder gehe ich in die andere Richtung, okay? Was da auch steht, ne? Hire someone to synergize papers. Und dann Papers are to synergize. Aber dann Fire Paper Guy. Okay, gut. Hire somebody to fire the paper synergizing guy. Who moved my desk? Okay, gut. Natürlich. Also der Craft, ne? Wie das alles da in den Keller geht. Oh, Water Coolers. Oh, Water Cooler Heaters. Das ist alles total verstrickt, ne? Deshalb wahrscheinlich auch Parabel. We find teenagers to put in teenage demographic. DVD! Dankeschön. Vielen, vielen Dank. 28 Monate. Dankeschön. Numbers of slides in this slide. Oh mein Gott, das ist alles voll kurios hier. What's hot? You want. Things. Ja, na klar. Happy Feelings ist durchgestrichen. Well, James, you are fired. Money, more money. Things. But with money to buy more things. Okay, ist okay. 134 Rüssel. Glückwunsch.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Langsam. Oh, guck. Da ist nichts, wo ich das nicht bezahlen kann. Man da
There
irgendwas
was
nehmen?
nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet.
Ja, okay, ich hab's
No
verstanden.
reason to still be here.
Ja, ich bleib jetzt mal drin. So, das hast du jetzt, Sprecher. Oh, Timothy, was ist das für ein Rüsselchen? Ach,
It was
Gottchen.
baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As
Das hat
it
jetzt
is,
keiner
he's
gesehen.
literally just standing
Das
there
hat keiner
doing
gesehen.
sweet FA.
Ein Zentimeter Rüssel. Oh Mann, jetzt dachte ich nach 6, da kannst du besser.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked
Nee.
upstairs
Nee.
to his boss's office.
Wenn hier was nicht stimmt, überlegt mal. Es ist irgendwas Gefährliches hier. Dann gehe ich doch lieber nach... Okay, irgendwie sieht das hier aber nicht so schön aus. Ah, ich weiß jetzt so recht. Oh, da liegt ein Zettel. Hier sieht's nicht so sympathisch. Okay. Timothy, jetzt darfst du. Nach unten oder nach oben? Sieht nicht so einladend hier aus, ne? Einer gesehen, stimmt. Damit das alles sehen, habe ich extra einen Screenshot gemacht und es im Discord verewigt. So geht's natürlich auch. Unten. Okay.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished.
Okay, komm.
His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All
Ja,
of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors
Komisch.
close automatically behind him wherever he
Merkwürdig.
went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream.
Exit.
Oh, what a
Oh.
relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer,
Okay.
an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
What? Okay.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want.
Der ist völlig durchgeknallt,
I
oder?
want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Ja, das hat nicht geklappt. Noch da?
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real.
Oh, okay.
I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Ich frage mich die ganze Zeit, was wäre passiert, wenn wir nach oben gegangen wären. Was?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
What? What?